И начнем мы мероприятие с выступления корпоративного директора по стратегии PhD Worldwide Шоны Рид. Попрошу поприветствовать, который расскажет вам немножко о том, как сейчас это выглядит с точки зрения глобальной перспективы.
I have presented this yesterday, and from what I gathered from this live translation, Alona's basically highlighted a lot of the things I'm about to talk you through. One of the things that I've been noticing with all of my clients on a global level is that everyone is talking about sustainability in some way or another. And now I know a lot of my clients on a global level are also your clients on a local level, so that means it's hitting you guys too. And one of the things we're trying to do is give them some structure and some ways of thinking about how it is they need to think more sustainably. But as I go through this, I want you to maybe take this as a challenge even to yourselves in this building, how you could make things better in here as well as out there. So, oh, that's my face. Here we go. So, one of the key things we talked about yesterday was that it's not just about profits, right? Like, yes, profits are important, and yes, your clients will always be looking for the short-term sales of Q4, Q1, Q2, Q3, right? I get it. But there is a huge amount of pressure from the markets, every market, and I'm sure you're feeling it here too, from your consumers that you need to change, right? We're seeing a 300% increase in some of the world's top 100 brands in advertising that is sustainable. Right? Because it drives long-term sustainable growth. I mean, if you think about it, if we don't exist, they can't sell to anyone, right? So we need to make sure we're doing good for the planet as well. Secondly, it's one of your most powerful ways of engaging with your consumers. We're finding that 8 out of every 10 consumers today believes that your brands have more power than the governments to change things, right? That's, I mean, they did this yesterday at the conference, but I'd like to see it here too. How many of you guys believe, and I will put up my hand for my own government, how many of you believe that your government will do more than your brands? Yeah, I live in the UK, I'm aware, yeah. Okay, so the last thing is that it's becoming an expectation, right? You guys look around, when you go and you decide to buy a brand, are you looking at maybe, will you pay an extra 10 rubles if it's got a slightly more sustainable purchase or supply chain? I mean, I know that I'll pay a little bit more if it's going to be better for the environment, or I'll buy the metal water bottle instead of continuously purchasing plastic water bottles. But lastly, and you'll have to excuse the fact that I have some pretty gory images here, we're at crisis level. Even if you take out all of the business side of things, from a human level, we're at level alert. You know, like stage 9, let's get something done because we cannot keep going the way we're going. If we continue to go the way we're going, we're gonna need 1.5 Earths, 1.5 to continue at the consumption levels we are going at. We don't have 1.5, and by the way, we also don't have a way off yet. So, and the scary thing about this is, this is from your country, right? This is from Russia, but no matter where you're from, I can find you similar images. It's not something that's happening somewhere else, really far off, or in a diving situation on a beach. It's here. It's everywhere. So we've got to do something about this. Now, some of the biggest brands out there are trying to do something about it, and they're trying to develop a purpose that gives them a little bit of a path as to what it is they need to do. So Google, I guess here Yandex, I'm appreciating that that's not the greatest first brand. They're a search engine, yes, but their why is to satisfy every curiosity immediately. And you can see that when they start to invest in new things, that's their path, that's their North Star, right? Tesla, save the planet, pretty lofty, but I mean, considering they've gotten the entire auto industry to start to think electric, they're doing a pretty good job. And then finally, Persil, to encourage children to play outside. And if you look at the UN 17 sustainable goals, actually all of those hit at least one. So I'm going to go through a few rules as to what you can implement with your clients, or maybe even here in the building, to start to think more sustainably. And the first one, I mean, we've mentioned it a couple of times, is to think long term, right? Change doesn't happen quickly. You can't suddenly do something sustainable and expect tomorrow your profits are going to be through the roof. It's not an overnight success. What you can expect, though, is that you'll be ahead of a lot of the competition. Because I tell you what, whoever starts today doing more sustainable things will be ahead of the game in 10, 20 years' time when the rest of their competition doesn't exist. And I've got an example there from Nike, and I think what I've tried to do is put examples in there that are not just about maybe getting plastics out of the ocean, although that is a big, big topic. Every single one of those 17 goals can be about numerous things, right? So there's diversity of gender, there is education, there is sustainable land under the sea, but on the land. There are so many things on there that you can be hitting, one of which is health and well-being. And so with Nike, they actually have that the belief that every person is an athlete. So everything they do is towards that North Star. Secondly, keep it rooted in the brand. Can you imagine if Nike was suddenly like, we're going to start, I don't know, shifting the undersea life? It doesn't make a lot of sense because Nike doesn't have space there. But if they start to talk about health and well-being, that makes sense. Similarly, with Red Bull, it was about energizing the world. And with Virgin, it was always about challenging the status quo. Think about what it is your brand core is and then go towards that. Third is turning intentions into actions. I mean, is this something that everyone in the organization can rally behind? Is it something that you're saying you're doing or that you're actually doing? It's not enough to greenwash anymore. And that is being called out by consumers nowadays. We are seeing that the next generation, the generation coming after us, is calling out bullshit when they see it, right? They see it and they call it out. H&M, sorry, but you don't do good enough to be able to call yourself sustainable yet, right? They called them out. And we will continue to get called out if we only greenwash and we don't actually do the things we say we're doing, because actions speak louder than words. And a good rule of thumb, and I said this yesterday, I appreciate that I'm giving an English lesson to a room full of Russians. But the idea is you have to create momentum, right? So a good rule of thumb is that you are acting on a thing. You're verbing a noun, right? You are inspiring women, you're democratizing fashion, you're creating solutions for a smarter planet. What is that thing you are doing? Make it an action word so that there is momentum there that you can actually act on. If that doesn't have momentum and if you're not acting on a thing, you're not changing something, it's not strong enough, it's not powerful enough. And if you're not slightly scared by the thing you're setting yourself out to do, it's not big enough. So those are the 4 rules. And all of your communication should ladder up to this, right? So you're thinking about which partner should I work with? Which influencer should I work with? Does that TV station make sense? If you have that North Star, it's really easy to tell, right? If I'm a Nike and I'm thinking every person is an athlete, then a partner that also thinks every person can be an athlete is the right one, right? The out-of-home space that's near athletic grounds is the right one. It's really easy to understand then where you're going and what you say no to. And that's the most important thing. So hopefully that was short and sweet. And you guys have at least a few guiding principles to take to your clients or to take even inside the building. Because we as advertisers, literally our job is to change people's behavior. It's our job to try to get people to think differently and to do things differently. And if we're not using that power for good, then we shouldn't have that power at all. Thank you.